Imagine this. You're the guy who has it all figured out. You've read the books. You meditate, journal, lift weights. You don't lose your cool. You know how to communicate your needs, set boundaries, hold space, all of it. So why the hell are you still hung up on the one woman who barely gives a damn? You say you're over her. You tell your friends you've moved on. But late at night, when the noise dies, you're still there, checking her last scene, wondering why she hasn't replied. Replaying old conversations like they were Shakespearean tragedies. It doesn't make sense, does it? You're logical, you're rational. You've outgrown the high school drama. So why are you obsessed with someone who clearly isn't capable of loving you back? Here's the brutal, naked truth. Your intelligence is part of the problem. It builds the perfect prison, with rationalizations as bars and hope as the lock. You think, she's not cold, she's just scared. She pushes me away because she's been hurt. If I can just be consistent, patient, strong, she'll see I'm different. But deep down, you know, she's not confused. She's not scared. She's just not emotionally available. She doesn't love you. At least, not in a way that's safe or secure or nourishing. And you love the idea of her, not her actual presence, because her presence is a void. You love the chaos, the pursuit, the silent hope that maybe this time she'll choose you fully. But what if I told you, this isn't about her at all? What if your obsession isn't love? What if it's a reenactment, a psychological echo from way before you met her? Something in your nervous system that whispers, if I can make someone who doesn't love me, maybe I'm finally enough. Think about it. The smarter you are, the more detailed your narratives become. You don't just fall for her. You analyze, diagnose, excuse, romanticize. You intellectualize your own heartbreak. But intelligence without emotional healing is just elegant self-deception. You're not chasing her love. You're chasing redemption. You're trying to rescue a version of you. The boy who was ignored, abandoned, or made to feel invisible. She becomes the perfect proxy for that wound. Unavailable, cold, withholding. And you? The fixer, the savior, the one who proves he's worth it this time. That's why walking away feels like death. Because to let go of her isn't just to lose a woman. It's to admit that love cannot heal that original wound. And that's devastating. Because now you have to face something far worse than rejection. Your own unmet need for love. The one that no woman can ever fix. So let's ask the real question. Why do the most emotionally intelligent men fall for emotionally unavailable women and stay longer than they should? Because their intelligence isn't the cure. It's the camouflage. And that leads us to the real answer. The one that has nothing to do with her and everything to do with you. You think it's about love, but it's not. It's about recognition. You don't want her attention. You want her to see you, to validate what you've built, who you've become, how hard you've worked to not be him, the broken version of yourself you swore you left behind. But let's tell the truth, bro. You didn't fall for her because she was kind. You fell because she was familiar. Familiar like your childhood home, beautiful on the outside, but quiet and cold inside. Familiar like your first emotional wound, the one you've spent your whole life pretending doesn't exist. Carl Jung called it the wound that never heals. It doesn't sit on the surface. It hides in the psyche. And until you see it, it sees for you. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Here's the ugly truth. You are not attracted to her despite her emotional distance. You are attracted to her because of it. Why? Because your inner child still believes love must be earned. That's why when she pulls away, your instincts scream louder. That's why when she's cold, you become warm. When she says, "I need space," you say, "I'll wait." It's not logical. It's not mature. It's the wounded part of you trying to rewrite history. You want her to stay, not because she's the one, but because if she does, it proves you were always lovable. But here's the trap. The people who mirror your wounds will never heal them. They will only repeat them. And you're stuck in the loop, smart enough to notice the pattern, but not awake enough to stop playing the game. Let's go deeper. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises." That means your suffering has structure. You use pain to prove you exist, to validate your narrative of unworthiness. So when a woman makes you feel invisible, you lean in, not out. You over-explain, you overcommit, you overfunction. You become a damn performance artist, desperate to be chosen, seen, saved. But ask yourself honestly, would you even know what to do with a woman who loved you with full presence? Would you trust it? Would you let her? Or would you self-sabotage, pick a fight, create drama, pull away, just to feel the familiar pain you've known since you were a boy? Because love, real love, the calm kind, feels boring when you've been raised on chaos. Gabor Mate calls this attachment hunger. It's the addiction not to people, but to patterns. You're not addicted to her. You're addicted to the cycle of proving your worth. Let's look at it through another lens. Philosophy. Schopenhauer believed romantic love was nature's trick, a biological illusion designed to keep us trapped in suffering. He saw love not as salvation, but as slavery, an evolutionary leash that binds even the freest minds. And you, my friend, you're in shackles. But not because of her, because you've confused pain with purpose. So here's the paradox. The smarter you are, the better you become at intellectualizing your suffering. You say, "I just see her potential." You say, "We're trauma bonded. I get it." You say, "She's healing. I understand." You turn self-destruction into spiritual language. But deep down, you're just afraid to be alone. And the most dangerous thing? You don't call it fear, you call it love. This is the hidden problem. It's not that she's unavailable, it's that your self-worth depends on making the unavailable love you. It's not that you're weak. It's that your strength has been hijacked to chase the unchaseable. And it's not that you don't know better. It's that knowing hasn't yet become integration. You've read the books. You've studied attachment theory, Jungian psychology, even Stoicism. But when she texts, "I miss you," at 2 a.m., your soul still forgets every quote you've ever underlined. That's the split. That's the shadow. One part of you is wise, the other is wounded. And until they meet, you'll keep falling for women who reflect your pain back to you like a goddamn mirror. So what now? What do you do when your mind knows the truth, but your heart still bleeds for the lie? That's the next step. Because recognizing the pattern isn't enough. You have to rebel against it. So you understand the pattern now. You've seen the shadow. You know it's not really about her. It's about a wound you never signed up for. But let's ask something deeper. What is the cost of staying in this cycle? What is the hidden tax you keep paying every time you chase someone who can't choose you? Because here's the thing. When smart men fall for emotionally unavailable women, they don't just lose time, they lose themselves. 1. your identity starts to warp. At first, it's subtle. You justify. You empathize. You play the strong one. You tell yourself, she's just healing. I'm helping. This is how deep love works. It's complicated. I'm not weak. I'm committed. But commitment without reciprocity is not love. It's self-abandonment in disguise. And over time, it starts to rot you from the inside. You become the guy who over-explains his worth, who tolerates mixed signals like they're noble tests of loyalty, who mistakes anxiety for passion and silence for depth. You perform stability while living in emotional chaos, and slowly, you forget what peace felt like. 1. You lose your sense of reality. Smart men don't fall in love blindly. They fall in love with ideas. You fall in love with potential, with what she could be, if only, with the image you built in your mind. But that image, it becomes more real than the woman herself. You start rewriting facts to fit the fantasy. She cancels plans again, but you call it boundaries. She ignores your text for days, but you call it space. She's cold and distant, but you convince yourself she's just guarded. You begin gaslighting yourself more violently than she ever could. You twist yourself into emotional origami to make dysfunction look like devotion. And the smarter you are, the more elegant your excuses become. 1. You attract what you tolerate. Here's where it gets really dark. When you stay too long in this pattern, you don't just tolerate emotional unavailability, you normalize it. You start to believe this is just how women are. You say things like, all women are confusing. They're never clear with what they want. This is just modern dating. No, man, that's not dating. That's dysfunction. But when you expose your heart to enough emotional chaos, it rewires your nervous system to expect it. Love starts to equal stress. Peace feels boring. You mistake trauma bonding for chemistry. And soon, healthy women feel alien because they don't trigger your nervous system. And you've mistaken that absence of adrenaline for a lack of connection. This is what trauma does. It teaches you to crave what hurt you and fear what could heal you. 1. You become emotionally passive. You don't even notice it at first. But the longer you chase someone who won't choose you, the more you lose your voice. You stop asking for what you want. You shrink. You compromise. You understand too much. You go from masculine leadership to emotional servitude. Not because you're kind, but because you're terrified of being abandoned again. So you stop leading. You wait. You hope. You become reactive, not intentional. And slowly, the man who once held strong values becomes a ghost in his own life. 1. You projected forward. Here's the worst part. If you don't break the pattern, you'll pass it on to the next woman, to your friendships, to your children, to every space where you were supposed to show up whole. You'll teach your son to chase love through performance. You'll teach your daughter that male love equals emotional silence. You'll repeat the pain that was never yours to begin with because you didn't stop long enough to heal. This is the cost of falling for what you never had the courage to walk away from. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly felt at peace in love? Not obsessed, not anxious, not figuring it out. I'm talking about safe, rooted, certain, chosen. If that's hard to remember, then maybe, just maybe, you've never really tasted it. Because emotional unavailability doesn't just deprive you of love, it convinces you that chaos is all love can ever be. But it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to intellectualize your own suffering forever. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room while dying silently inside. There is another way, one that starts not with fixing her, but by reclaiming you. It's not comfortable. It's not romantic. But it is real. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no dramatic moment where you scream, "I'm done," and ride off into a sunset of clarity and peace. No, the rebellion begins in silence. It starts the moment you stop reaching, the moment you sit with the ache and don't call, the moment you hear your trauma say, "She'll come back," and you whisper back, "I won't." That's the moment everything begins to change. 1. Choose reality over fantasy. The first step to breaking free is brutal. You must kill the fantasy. Not the woman, not the story. The fantasy that she will change. She won't, because she doesn't need to. You've made it too easy to stay distant. She doesn't chase you because you're always there. Emotionally available men become the perfect safe zone for emotionally unavailable women. They don't love you. They borrow you. They lean on your warmth to escape their cold, then vanish when it gets real. So stop feeding the illusion. Stop reading her what-ifs as promises. Stop interpreting silence as depth. You are not her therapist. You are not her father. You are not her unfinished project. You are a man. You are not a role. And the longer you romanticize chaos, the longer you stay trapped in a story that never had a happy ending. Burn the fantasy, so you can finally build something real. 1. Reclaim your emotional authority. Let's get something straight. You've been outsourcing your emotions. You feel good when she texts. You feel anxious when she doesn't. You feel powerful when she wants you, and worthless when she pulls away. That's not love. That's emotional slavery. It's time to take your feelings back. You get to decide how you feel. Not her actions, not her absence, not her chaos. When you feel the urge to reach out, don't. Sit with it. Let the ache pass. When you feel worthless, remind yourself, her silence is not my worth. When she tries to breadcrumb you back in, ask yourself, what would the healed version of me do right now? This is how you rewire your nervous system, not through quotes, but through discipline, not through more books, but through emotional sobriety. 1. Create distance that doesn't ask permission. Let's be clear, you don't need closure. You don't need one last conversation. You don't need her to validate your decision. Distance is not something you request, it's something you enforce. Block her if you must. Mute the thread. Archive the memories. Do it not out of hatred, but out of respect for your own healing. Because every time you stay connected to her world, even digitally, you're delaying your rebirth. Do not let nostalgia become your prison. Your mind will tempt you with what if she changes. But ask yourself this instead. What if you finally become a man who no longer chases people who refuse to choose him? That version of you doesn't need her transformation. He's too busy creating his own. 1. Transmute the pain into power. Now comes the magic. You're going to take all the pain, all the overthinking, all the heartbreak, and turn it into fuel. Start building again, but this time for you. Hit the gym, not to impress, but to anchor. Journal daily, not to vent, but to extract truth. Create music, writing, movement. Let your pain speak through action. Reconnect with brothers, with men who walk with integrity. Let them remind you of your power. And most importantly, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for staying too long, for giving too much, for ignoring your intuition, for confusing emotional labor with love. This wasn't weakness, it was programming. But now you're aware. Now you're awake. And awareness is a dangerous thing, because once you see, you can't unsee. Now you can choose differently. 1. Become the one who is emotionally unavailable to chaos. Here's the twist. You don't become cold. You become clean. You don't shut down. You sharpen. You don't build walls. You build standards. You stop entertaining relationships that feel like emotional gambling. You stop mistaking adrenaline for chemistry. You stop rewarding ambiguity with access. You become emotionally unavailable to breadcrumbs, half-love, situationships, excuses masked as healing. Because now you know. Peace is not boring, it's holy. Love is not confusion, it's clarity. And being nice doesn't make you good. Being boundaried does. So here's the rebellion. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It simply walks away and never looks back. Not because she wasn't special, but because you finally became someone too powerful to settle for fragments. And now comes the final truth. The insight that will rewrite everything you thought you knew about love, pain, and what it means to be chosen. Imagine this. You wake up one day and feel nothing. No urge to check her social media. No craving for the maybe text. No emotional echo haunting your morning. Just breath, stillness, and a strange feeling you haven't felt in years. Wholeness. Not because someone finally chose you, but because you finally chose yourself. That's the moment you realize it was never about love. 1. It was about worth. The ultimate truth is brutal, beautiful, and blinding. You didn't fall for her. You fell for the promise that if she chose you, it would mean you finally mattered. That's it. That's the core wound. That's the hidden virus beneath all the poetry, all the obsession, all the pain. You never needed her. You needed someone to confirm the thing you were afraid to believe. I am enough. But when you attach that truth to another person's approval, you hand them your power. And she didn't take it. You gave it away, hoping her love would silence the voice in your head that whispered, "You are only valuable if you are chosen." So here's the ultimate shift. You stop needing to be chosen. You choose you, fully, brutally, unapologetically. And everything changes. 1. Love doesn't heal, it reveals. We've been lied to, man. We were told love is supposed to fix you, that the right woman would come along and make all the pain make sense, that if you're good enough, patient enough, emotionally open enough, she'll finally see you. But that's not what love does. Love doesn't heal, it reveals. It reveals where you're still wounded, where you still abandon yourself, where you trade authenticity for acceptance. That's why she hurt you. Not because she was evil, but because your nervous system said, "Ah, here's someone who mirrors my wound." You didn't fall in love. You fell in pattern. And here's the miracle in that. She gave you the greatest gift you could have asked for, a mirror. She showed you everything you still hadn't faced. She exposed the little boy who needed to be saved. And now, you save him, not by begging for love, but by becoming it. 1. Your masculine edge is forged in refusal. There's a kind of strength you can't fake. It's not loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't chase. It simply says, "I will not betray myself to be loved." That's what makes a man untouchable. Not arrogance, not status. Self-respect. The kind of grounded presence that says, if you're not ready, I'm not staying. If your love is inconsistent, I don't want it. If my peace is at risk, you no longer have access to me. And the moment you embody that, unavailable women disappear from your radar. because your energy no longer feeds their avoidance. You're no longer a supply of emotional oxygen for someone gasping in their own chaos. You become air to those who breathe peace. 1. There's nothing to prove anymore. Let this sink in. You don't need to prove you're worthy of love. You don't need to earn affection. You don't need to convince someone of your value. The moment you stop seeking love as proof, you create space for love as presence. That's when the whole game shifts. You don't want someone to need you. You want someone to meet you. No chasing, no fixing, just two sovereign beings choosing each other without addiction, projection, or performance. And that can only happen when you become someone who no longer tolerates emotional breadcrumbs. 1. This is who you are. And let me tell you, you stayed too long. You lost. You tried to, but guess what? You're still here, still breathing, still standing. And now, you're no longer the same man. You've walked through the fire. You've bled for a love that never saw you. You've made meaning from the madness. That's not weakness. That's alchemy. Now, you become the man she could never meet, because you stepped into a frequency she couldn't survive in. Now, you speak the language of clarity, peace, and depth, and the world will rearrange to meet you at that level. No more chasing, no more fixing, just presence, just power, just you, full, whole, free. I will not pursue those who cannot love me. I will not abandon myself to be accepted. I choose peace over potential, power over pain, presence over promises. You are no longer a man waiting to be chosen. You are a man who chooses. If this resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment with, "I choose emotional sovereignty." Let's build a brotherhood of men who lead with self-respect, not self-abandonment. Like, subscribe, and share this with the one man you know who's stuck in the same trap. Because the revolution starts with awareness, but it's powered by action. This isn't heartbreak. This is initiation. And you, brother, you just walked through the fire.